Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson, creator of Dice Tower Dish, Nerd About Podcast, executive producer of Webboard TV, meddler in conventions.
Things like that. And this is Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of gaming. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 357, and we're recording this on February 21st, 2025. Board Games Insider, powered by Board Game Geek. Corey Ignacy again couldn't make it, but this one was my fault, really, because due to my schedule, what was going on, I had to change the date where we're actually recording
Yeah,
this
you
4 days
were
later than we
playing
usually
on a
do.
ship.
I was. We'll get to my life in a second, but your life, Corey, what is happening in
Ah.
your life? And some of it we might talk about during the news instead of right now, but that's up to you when you want to
Nothing,
mention it.
nothing exciting.
No,
Um,
nothing exciting going on for
no.
Corey Thompson.
So
Oh, wait, everybody. If you don't like to listen to us BS here, wait until you hear the news. Go
I
ahead.
think I think all the listeners will know by the time this
Yeah,
comes out.
probably.
So I just got back from a wonderful trip to Seattle. I had a really good time, visited a bunch of friends. I visited the Pokemon offices, which was amazing. They are really cool. Friend of the channel, Andrew Wolf, brought me around, and it was really cool. There are four floors in this giant office building, and they're all themed to the different kinds of Pokemon. So there's a grass nature level, there's a blue water level, there's a red fire level. It is just so cool to look at. I'm not a big Pokemon fan. I mean, I know Pokemon and I've played a little bit, but this building was so amazingly beautifully designed and definitely put together to keep the employees thrilled to be there. It was
Nice.
amazing. I was really privileged to be able to see it. I visited with a good friend of mine, Peter Atkinson, who made me build wooden battleships, and we're still friends, mostly. But oh man, I had to build the tiniest little wooden battleships for the Battle of Jutland game that Peter wanted to put together. It was really fun. I
Wait,
had a
wait,
good
wait,
time.
wait, wait. He's building little like mini battleships and you're gonna be
Yep.
playing it in a game, but it doesn't really come with the game. He's just doing it for the
This
game.
is a very old game called the Battle of Jutland that comes with little cardboard chits, and he
Ah,
wants to do it on an enormous surface. The Battle of Jutland was the largest naval battle, the most battleships out of that's ever been done, and it was
nice.
during World War One in Jutland outside of Denmark. Trust me, I
Wow.
heard so much about the Battle of Jutland, and these were little. We built little wooden battleships to make it look cooler, and it was really cool. Even the drive there was really fun. Hit touristy spots. I drove through a tree in Leggett, California. Uh, it was amazing. And then, yeah, while I was there, I might have bought a piece of Gen Con. What have you been doing?
I wonder if anybody just realized what you said, but we're gonna get to that like in the news. So over here at the Podfather of Gaming, first thing I'm going to mention is I have this. Corey always makes fun of the my show notes because I put everything in the show notes in like kind of different colors, things that I'm going to mention,
You
things
have
that I
like
who knows.
5 pages of what you've done recently.
But right, but a lot of it we don't talk about because it's kind of retreaded. Like I have a note about my RPGs. So, my D&D campaign is going very well it's my industry campaign. Alex Schmidt, Julie Ahern, Dustin Wessel, Rachel Blasky. We've been playing now all during COVID and having a great time. But the new one, the Corey and I and Alex Schmidt
Yeah.
again and Paula, the darling Paula, who's sitting over there not feeling so good today. Hi, Paula. We're all going to start the One Ring second edition campaign. This is very
Yep.
exciting for me because I'm going to be able to teach Corey about Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings because
Thank you.
his
Thank you.
it's gonna be great to just play in this world and experience a system that is literally made for a very low magic, very high fantasy world. And just the way it's structured brings that out. And you definitely this is like the anti hack and slash thing, right? You're going to get into combat, you're going to get into fights, but it's not, it's really about your journey and your struggle with the shadow because
Yeah.
as you see things, you see bad things, your character can get scarred and things like that happen. So I'm really looking forward to this. So
Me
we
too.
we have not started. In fact, I don't think Corey's character is done yet. But as soon
My
as
character is mostly
Oh,
done.
good. All right. Well, you got to get it into our
I know. I need to do that.
lore master John, who's such a lovely, lovely gentleman, and he's a professional LM, lore master. He also does D&D, so DM as well. And we will be playing that hopefully every 2 weeks soon, and we'll tell you a little bit about it as we're doing it. I just got off literally today, and I mentioned it because we had to postpone the recording, but this episode will be on time. It was the Blood on the Clock Tower cruise, the first time they've ran a cruise that they have run a cruise for that game, and maybe the first time that any one game has had its own cruise. I'm sure. Well, I'm sure there's been like D&D cruises. Maybe it's such a big
Should
thing.
probably. Yeah.
Probably, right? But Jeff Anderson, who runs all the BGG at sea, he runs the Podfather cruise. He runs his own amazing cruises. He ran it. We had a great time. It was a short thing, a 4-nighter out of Miami, and since obviously that's very close for me, it was worthwhile just going. There was plenty of board games going on as well. Very fun. But the one interesting thing that really happened there, that again I can take it and I can push it in Corey's face a little bit, is that
Uh-oh.
I met one of the HR people. I wasn't sure if she was the director. I got to go look at her card again. Director of HR at a certain small winery in Napa known as
Oh.
Opus One. Opus
Oh, very
One.
cool.
The Opus Winery is uh, in the top 5 greatest of the wineries in Napa. I would say that's probably there. Probably in that, owned by Mondavi and Rothschild, and they basically
Yep.
make one unbelievable product with a little baby version of it as well. It's called Opus One, the major work. So that was
Was it
great.
Dana?
He's looking at, no, if Dana, well,
Oh.
first, I don't know if we should mention names. Her name is Lai. So maybe she's not the
Oh, okay.
director. I don't know if she's on
Well,
the.
I know Dana.
You really? That's so funny. Now, Corey knows everybody, so that's really good. But anyway, we have another connection sort of
Oh,
into Opus
that's
One now.
super cool.
That is, it was fun, and she was enchanting and lovely, and we had great conversations about wine. So right after this, I'm just here for got here, here today, all day tomorrow, which we're actually going out to to a brewery tomorrow. Our friends, the Phelpses, who Corey, too,
Oh, yeah.
they own a brew pub, and they're having Kismet Day. Kismet is the brewery cat, so they're having a special day for Kismet, and I get to see Kismet and play with Kismet and have a couple of beers. But I can't stay long because I got to pack, and I'm on a plane on Sunday morning to go see Corey at the Gamma Expo. What are
I'm
we
actually
doing?
leaving tomorrow morning,
Are you? Wow, so you'll be there Saturday night.
tomorrow night. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see you. I'll be there midday. Midday on Sunday.
Perfect.
What am I doing? What are we doing there? I'm doing some investigative journalism for all of you out there. There's some interesting things that are happening that I have to talk to some people about. I may be able to report back on them, hopefully. I'm going to hang out and help in the Play 2Z booth. I'll throw on Play 2Z's powder blue shirt instead of this
Oh, I
Podfather
should bring
shirt.
one of those.
You should bring, actually, yeah, if you could bring it, that would be great. Maybe we'll both go there, and people will want to come talk to you, maybe because of your used news. Seriously though, if you have one, yeah, bring it. I think you have one.
I have
Um,
one.
and then of course just hang out and have a good time with my industry friends. So that's going to be interesting in Louisville, Kentucky. So any industry people who listen to this, hopefully I'll see you there, and we'll have some fun. Let's get a drink, have a meal,
Very cool.
and then Corey and I are out at Dice Tower West almost
Yep.
immediately thereafter. Any plans yet? Do we have any plans yet for that? Like
Oof.
shows, dinner. You know,
I
what day do you arrive
not
to that?
I don't remember.
Go
It's a blur.
get your PA to tell you what day it is. But anyway,
I
we'll
know, I know.
We'll figure out some cool stuff to do together because there's always so much to do there. But
Absolutely, man.
that's going to be great. Final thing is
Uh,
I'll just give a shout out to Play to Z for the late pledges are open for Tales of the Arabian Nights on Gamefound.com. It's going to close soon, so this is your last chance to get in on the Gamefound edition, the crowdfunded edition of Tales of the Arabian Nights. It will be in retail, but that edition is going to be a better edition. It's going to be very cool. So go check that out. Tales of the Arabian Nights, a classic storytelling, paragraph driven game on Gamefound. And now we have a little bit of news to talk about. A little bit. Let's get over to the event deck. So Corey said something at the top of the show. Did anybody out there actually hear it? Did you Corey?
I don't want to overplay.
All right, he doesn't want to overplay it. But let's just say congratulations to Corey Thompson, who is now a part owner of Gen Con, which is the largest game convention in North America. Congratulations, Corey. That's absolutely amazing news. So just tell us this much about it. I know you're not supposed
I want to
make too much
sure to
fanfare.
say, I am a minor owner. This is the first time they've brought in new owners, as far as I know, ever, other than big, huge Gen Con trading hands. I just want to be clear, I'm a silent investor. I don't have the authority to speak for or behalf of Gen Con, but everybody I'm working with, all the other owners are really friendly and open, and I hope that they want to hear what I have to say, even though I don't have direct voting in Gen Con. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm absolutely in love with the potential of what Gen Con could be. The smartest thing that I was ever told was from Peter, who said that what makes Gen Con special is that it's a village. It is open 24/7. The hotels are all very close or reasonably close to the convention center. It turns into a community. Everybody is there and interacting with each other the whole time. And I love that feeling. It's absolutely magical. So I hope that I can add to it. I hope that I can, be of use.
Well, again, Corey, congratulations on that. And just to make sure the listeners understand, Peter that he keeps mentioning is Peter Atkinson, who started Gen Con and is still the
Gen Con technically is 2 days younger than me.
That's funny.
Gen Con was started on August 24th, 1968. You do the math. By Gary Gygax and his friends. And this is before D&D.
Wow.
So
isn't that amazing?
Peter bought TSR, which was the original D&D company, that came with Gen Con.
Isn't that incredible?
And then Gen Con and Wizards of the Coast, the company that Peter founded, were sold to Hasbro. And then Peter bought Gen Con back. So Peter's actually purchased Gen Con twice.
And now you've been allowed to buy a piece of Gen Con, which is pretty cool.
I'm very lucky and very happy.
Yeah. For the record, everybody, no kissing Corey's ass to try to get favors. The only person out there that can do that is me. So just make sure you know that. There'll be no kissing his ass. No, frankly, I'm not kissing his ass either. He's just, hey, Corey, how's it going? All right. Let's move right on because we really
move on to important stories.
We do have a lot. That's an important story. We have a lot of news here. It's this one is a very strange one, I thought. This is about Steve Jackson Games and Possum Creek, who's a role-playing company, a role-playing publisher. And Steve Jackson is now not merging. It looks like they didn't say acquisition, but Possum Creek is joining Steve Jackson Games as an imprint, as a brand under Steve Jackson Games. Yeah. I found that to be very interesting because obviously Steve Jackson Games is known for the lightest and the
most. Well, they're all over the place. They were an early wargaming company, and I don't know anybody that would call Ogre or Illuminati or even Auto Duel and Car Wars would call them light.
Sure, but that's not their recent catalog. Let's put it that way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of Munchkin. Steve Jackson is kind of the company that Munchkin built. And Possum Creek should say they're a role-playing publisher known for Wanderhome, and they've won multiple Ennies, the awards within role-playing, and they've been a Nebula finalist. So they've got a a nice bit of history with fantasy and animal folk
Yeah,
RPGs.
very, very cool. So congratulations to both of those companies, Possum Creek and Steve Jackson Games. I hope that they continue to do some great things together.
Yeah,
We've already reported some stuff about Tabletop Tycoon. More people are on the move there. And in this case, they have a new director of operations, and that's Andre Kiernan. So more and more shakeups there. We don't usually go too deeply into all of these little things, but this is a number of major positions over at Tabletop
yeah.
Tycoon that are being filled
Kieran
within the last month.
was with Steamforged Games in logistics and sales, and led Mantic back in Mantic's heyday. So he's got some chops in the industry.
Absolutely. And what else do we got here? We have Asmodee Canada. They've announced an exclusive partnership with Matagot to distribute multilingual catalog in Canada. Obviously,
Yeah,
Matagot is a French-based company as well, so that goes
Matago's kind
well.
of the octopus of the industry. There's a lot of branches of Matago. Matago's got a little bit everywhere.
Hmm.
So this is big because of course, Asmodee Canada, huge, and this is an exclusive partnership between Matago and Asmodee Canada. The biggest title in this deal is Saltfjord, which is one of their newer titles. So a lot of good stuff coming to Canada from Matago.
Yeah, and it is interesting, and this is like in the wake of the Diamond Comics, and
Yeah,
therefore Alliance's bankruptcy, that big bankruptcy, where Universal, which is Universal Canada, has come in with their stalking horse bid to buy Alliance. But Matago probably had this deal in the works before that, and they're going with Asmodee
sure.
Canada for their exclusive
You
distributions.
just like to say stalking horse.
Stalking horse sounds so cool. I actually had never heard that term until this came up. A
I
stalking horse bid. Now we've
feel
talked
like
about
I've
it.
heard it 10 or 20 times since
Just
this
with
deal came up.
yes.
Just from you.
A stalking horse bid starts the bidding for a company, essentially. It's the one that says,
So
okay, we will pay this. Everybody else, what are you going to do about it? All right.
the next story I found really interesting.
Go ahead.
So Upper Deck, who's real big in trading cards, has teamed up with Gearbox and Gearbox Entertainment to bring it all full circle. Gearbox Entertainment used to be part of Embracer and was sold off, and is the publisher of the Borderlands series of video games, as well as some other things. So there's going to be new Borderlands and Tiny Tina's Wonderland games and trading cards, and they're going to be done through Upper Deck. Upper Deck's certainly no stranger to board games. They're the group that did the Legendary series of deck builders. So one of the early deck builder games, it was Marvel Legendary and Firefly Legendary, and there were a ton of legendaries.
Right, which and they did pretty well, and they probably
Yeah, they still do well.
I bet they're still doing well. I haven't
They have a
seen
whole
people.
series of James Bond legendaries, and they're still selling pretty good.
I did not
Those are the
know that.
newest ones. Yeah.
Oh, very
Oh,
cool.
there's everything. Big Trouble in Little China legendary. There's tons.
And each game is a little bit different too. I don't think that they've just riffed and just
Absolutely. There's
take.
the cooperative ones and there's the competitive ones.
Mhm.
The cooperative ones are really good storytelling. Firefly Legendary is a cooperative one, as is Alien and Alien versus Predator. They're all really cool, difficult co-ops that tell a story through deck building.
Very, very interesting. So we have a series of crowdfunding news articles, and the first one is about our friend. It's from our friends at Board Game Wire, and we talked a little bit about this already, but maybe there's a little more information in this article. That Gamefound is increasing its share of crowdfunding, while Kickstarter has decreased and or remained flat essentially in this space.
Yeah.
So Corey, what else
Yeah.
did you get out of this article?
Well, we've said in the past that I think 8 out of 10 of the biggest board game crowdfunding projects have been on the GameFound platform. So we know that GameFound has been doing really well. The biggest thing here is just a summary of all of this evidence coming together that GameFound is growing like by leaps and bounds, whereas Kickstarter is doing what they always did and kind of staying the same. So it's a really nice summary of the battle going on between these two giants over at Board Game Wire. I think it's really interesting in the face of our next story, also Board Game Wire, that Kickstarter has unveiled a bunch of tools that creators of crowdfunding projects have been asking for. And it is the first significant move we've seen from Kickstarter to try to compete aggressively with Gamefound. And honestly, a lot of the stuff they're doing has been done by Gamefound.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
amazingly.
like the Windows versus Apple battle. They keep doing the same thing, copying each other, but trying to do it a little better.
Right. They're implementing the Gamefound had already had. So now Kickstarter is implementing the pledge over time. It's called something different on Gamefound. I just
Yep.
can't remember what it's called there. But you now can get charged in quarter increments. Like you get a charge when the project ends, and then you're gonna get a charge every 2 weeks. It looks like until you've paid it in full. So it helps smooth it out if you for budgetary reasons, right? If you're personally,
Yeah.
I don't have the $200 for this campaign right now, but if I can pay $50 over the next 2 months, that's per every 2 weeks, then that
Yeah.
sounds like it's going to work for me. So that's one of
And
the things they're doing.
and a bunch of Pledge Manager changes and tools are set to come online later this year, including post-campaign add-ons, enhanced backer surveys, configuring shipping charges post-campaign, and collecting taxes directly through the Pledge Manager to help with bookkeeping afterwards.
Yep.
So a lot of the stuff really for creators. And that was GameFound's original goal was it was going to be a crowdfunding platform for creators. That was their tagline when they first started. So it's getting to be a heated battle. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So more, movement and things going on with personnel in the industry. We have a quick note, and it's kind of a word of mouth, but we've heard that it is true that there's a new head of games outreach at Kickstarter, and that's Asher McClenahan. Corey, you had found out about this.
Yeah.
Do you know Asher personally?
Uh, just a little bit. We've
Hmm.
spoken once or twice, but
Okay.
I know there's been a little bit of turnover in Kickstarter. They're looking for the right team, the right executives, because they're making so many movements. So congratulations to Asher.
Yeah.
And we're looking. I mean, competition is always going to be a great thing for the consumers. If they fight it out and try to be the best they can be, we can only benefit from it.
Very quick note here that Amigo has begun distribution of select titles from Piatnik Games.
I
Um,
love Piatnik.
so what is Piatnik famous for, Corey?
Oh, they've got so many. The one that I really loved is there is a two-player only trick-taking game I absolutely love
They have
called Schnapps.
Schnapps. Oh, I like that.
But
Very
uh,
good.
they have thousands they distribute. So I can tell you on it's going to be a little weird because off of Board Game Geek, they're listing things that are distributed by multiple different companies.
Right.
So you're going to see well-known titles, Heaven and Ale,
Yeah.
Carcassonne, Istanbul. They do distribution
They
all over the place.
they definitely have a very similar feel in a lot of their games that Amigo already puts out. Amigo puts out lots and lots of small games, small
Exactly.
form factor games, and Piatnik does a very similar thing. Um, the first titles that are going to be distributed via Amigo are Double Donkey, Zero Hero, Boo to the Goose, Zoinky, Matchsticks, and Jinx, and every one of those has an MSRP of $12.99. So you can
Well,
see
they're
these
little
are
card games, and
right,
Jinx is a pretty fun one.
right. And this here's
Yeah.
a funny thing is 200-year-old company. Did you know that?
Oh yeah,
Well,
in
it's
Vienna,
P in Indiana.
Vienna,
Oh, Vienna.
Austria.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second. Piatnik is in Vienna, Austria. 200-year-old publishing company. Um, kind of there aren't a lot of those around, so that's pretty interesting. And not one that flies off the tongue when you're thinking about games, but definitely something that is a good synergy, certainly for Amigo Spiele.
Yep, absolutely.
The next one is a very, very, very interesting story. And this also comes from Board Game Wire, but this was all over social media. And this had to do with a company out in the Netherlands, Splotter Spieler, known for the biggest, heaviest.
Spieler. Their number one title is Food Chain Magnate right now, and it's gone through, I believe, 8 reprintings, and they're having a new deluxe edition come through Lucky
Right?
Duck
Roads and Boats was one of their early games.
and Bus.
Very, very heavy Euro style games. So they were bringing back Indonesia, another one of the games. In fact, I think it's probably very possibly their best game. I really liked
Yeah.
Indonesia back in the day.
Oh, it's a
Uh,
great one.
Very heavy, but I really enjoyed the mechanics that were in there of picking and delivering your various things in Indonesia, in boats in Indonesia. Apparently, the report was that GTS had an order for Indonesia with Splotter, but they canceled the order due to the tariffs that board games are being hit with, which we probably should
Yes.
mention that, but we'll mention that in just a moment. But then there was more to it. First, let's talk about Corey. Do we have any extra information from Board Game Wire that you want to actually mention from their article?
There's a nice summary of the tariffs and what their impacts are, but yeah, most of it is talking about
Yep.
Splatter's history and GTS. GTS, the major distributor right now. They're number one distributor, aren't they?
No, I would not say they're number one in the
Oh,
U.S.
okay.
I mean, it certainly was Alliance. God knows what's happening right now.
Sure.
ACD is probably taken the number one spot, or they're really,
Hmm.
really close anyway. But GTS is still yeah, one of the biggest players.
Yeah, and
And
they've been doing Splatter's games for the past 13 years.
right. So
So,
so the what happened apparently is that they had a large order. Splotter received a large order, but in digging a little deeper and finding out a little bit more, it was more like GTS said, "We believe we can take X number of games." I don't. Nobody has mentioned what X is. If it's 1,000, if it's 500, 22,000. No one knows the number. But then, due to the tariffs, GTS ended up saying, we're not going to take them because we're too scared of the increase in price that could happen once these games are printed. Because the current 10% tariff that's being put on every product out of China, talk about that in a second, could go to 20%, could go to more. Anything could happen right now with these things.
right.
So they didn't have an order insofar as here's a PO, we're going to pay for these games at some point. The delivery, what it usually is when it is, you get a certain amount of time to pay once the goods are delivered. They had a soft commitment and then they got out of it. So Splotter got very nervous, started
Yeah.
saying this all over. But I think the good side of this story
This is
is,
what I loved
Corey,
about this story. The
yes.
community rose up. This is what I love about the board game industry is when
Mm-hmm.
things like this happen, the community comes forward. So a lot of large retailers actually agreed to directly order rather than go through the now non-existent distributor or the distributors exist in the now non-existent order.
Right.
So Game Nerds, Tanuki Games, Card House, Board Game Bliss, 401 Games,
Yep.
all of these have come forward and placed direct orders
Yeah.
to help out Splutter.
And those are the big, like you just mentioned, like every large North
Oh, they're
American
huge. Yeah.
online retailer. So that your average mom and pop shop that you might go to play games on Thursday night, they can't you get involved with this very well. But all those other companies, they're probably going to take, 100 units each, maybe more. I don't, we don't know the
Well,
numbers, but they're going to
and then
be
Board
to
Game
help.
Wire was told that about half of this soft commitment GTS order is now covered
Good.
by
There you
direct
go.
orders.
And I was told that there are other players involved as well that could come forward to take
Oh,
more
sure.
as well. That I was told in confidence, so I can't tell any more about that. But the point is, it's Splotter overreacted in the way that they discussed it. I'm sorry, I just got to say it that way. That they said well, they backed off of this order. That's not exactly what happened. They didn't make an order. They said we should be able to take X games. And then once these tariffs hit, they said we can't get involved. Other companies, the great news is they came and they said, we'll take some games. And there's even other companies out there that might be taking
Yeah.
some games too, which is
Now,
all really cool.
really quick, I do want to say, since you brought up tariffs and what's going on now in the
Yes.
world, just today, literally hours ago, a story dropped on Board Game Wire where the president of Arcade Wonders, Robert Geislinger,
Good buddy
was
of ours.
is a he's such a great guy, really knows the industry. He did a fantastic interview with Board Game Wire talking about tariffs, margins, the math, the money, the finances of making games. I highly recommend reading this article.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Robert is so smart. And this is probably the best summary of what we can expect from
Yeah.
tariffs.
Yeah. And just to like kind of put a bookend on the whole thing, all products from China will be subject to a tariff if they arrive after X date, and that date is something in March. I don't know the exact thing, but it's going to happen, and it's the stupidest. I will not curse. It's the stupidest effing thing I have ever heard of. You don't tariff goods because you tariff goods to protect an industry that exists in your country. We don't make games here. We have no
It's
facility
not a
to make
punishment.
games. It's not a pun. You know who it's a punishment to? You. Everybody out there looking at me on YouTube, you. You are going to be punished. Corey's punished. I'm punished. All my games back here, everybody, any other game I want to get, we're going to be punished because those costs are going directly onto you. Why would someone do this? This is not a political statement, boys and girls out there. This is just dumb. We'll see what happens in the long run. And with that great news, let's get over to strategy and tactics. Dr. Vincenzo Alvarello, my good buddy, used to be in New Jersey, now lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or that area. He's at Zacko Soldier, and he asks, PBS recently did an episode of the American Experience on Monopoly, going into the original invention of the game, trying to teach about a specific
Yeah.
tax policy. Interesting. Similarly, in high school, during religion class, we used to use a modified rule set of Monopoly to learn about economic inequality. Been trying to find that rule set for years. This led me to think about other games that are trying to teach something through play, namely Verlig Games. I don't know that. Oh, Whirly Gig Games. I do know this company. The name looks a little weird. Like
Yeah,
PAX.
Whirly Gig, Drew and Cole Whirly.
Yes. Uh, um, PAX Premier
Amir. Yep.
and John Company or Terraforming Mars. They all are, of course, economic based games. But a
Sure.
complex
Sure.
idea. What is a complex idea you would want to try to see a game tackle? My dream would be a game
Ah.
that is fun and accurately depicts evolution by natural selection.
I would love to see an evolution game. The Fox experiment does a decent job of it. You evolve your foxes. You have a mom and a dad, and you mix dice together, and you see what happens through randomness. I also really like the old game, Ursupa, Primordial Soup. It has a
Love it.
neat, chaotic evolution thing. But the complex idea I would love to see a good game about would be quantum physics and entanglement. It has such a weird set of rules. I'm serious. I'm
I
serious. There are two games I know of that deal with quantum physics and entanglement, and they burn your mind. They're so bizarre.
well,
But I'd love to see a great entanglement quantum physics game.
quantum entanglement in general, quantum physics is one of those things that every time I read about it, I get just like nauseous. My body like
It's
reacts
when physics meets
I
magic.
it's what it's like it is like magic. It's like
I love it.
no,
I think
things
it's
can't
amazing.
really act like this on the quantum level, but they do. And
Yep.
the we can go down a crazy rabbit hole here, but in the future we're gonna Microsoft just announced a new
Yeah.
breakthrough in quantum computing. and they've created a quantum computer that's going to be
The,
many times faster than any current quantum computer, which are not
yeah,
being produced yet, and they're still a ways away, years away from
the,
actually making it
they
happen
announced a
in mass
chip that has
production.
more qubits and
More
the measure
qubits.
of qubits, and I think they're up to 12 qubits. So
It's got a way to go. It's got a way to go. But that
yes,
would be,
but
you
it
know
is
what?
exciting. It's a
You,
super exciting path.
but you know what? That would be my answer too, because if you can make a complex idea fun like that and a really good game, all right, I'm taking your answer too. Mr. Juggles from the UK, he's at Mr. Juggles. How often do you update and reprint your board game rule books? And
Wow.
can I buy the latest version separately? Do I need to wait for a new print run? I know I can print rules off, and that would be enough, but I do feel I like the feel of
Yeah.
a real rule book and happy to pay a few pounds. And he's in the UK for a new update, an updated version of my hands. Equally, I'd happily pay a few pounds for a brand new box when mine wears out.
Well, let me just say real quick, brand new box, that's not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
Shipping an empty box is just as expensive as shipping a full box, mostly.
Yeah.
And yeah, people won't do it. I do think rule books are doable, but the demand probably isn't there. Very few companies
Yeah.
do it. The companies that I know of, Chip Theory Games has been very good about updating rule books and updating reference cards, especially Too Many Bones has been their poster child for this. And they will send, you can buy a new version of the rule book. And that should be easy to ship and easy to sell.
Yeah.
But I just know so few people who do it.
Yeah, it's not economically viable, Mr. Juggles. It's just not for a company to put out there that, hey, we have rule books for sale. Nobody's going to buy them because they'll
I
just,
will. I'm with Mr. Juggles.
all right, you and Mr. Juggles can go
I
buy two
know.
two copies of some rule books, and
I
then
will.
and I used to, back at Stronghold, somebody might come to me, and my answer would be, if I had copies of the rule book, like I had opened games for spare parts, if I had them, I'd make them a price on that. It's got to cover the shipping too, and that's always expensive. Plus something for the rule
Sure.
book, plus my time or my assistant's time. So all of that, it's not really economic, and it'll cost you more than a few pounds, Mr. Juggles. I'm
What's
sorry.
kind of taken it over right now is there's an enormous trend to do these giant new versions, the big everything all in one, all the expansions, version two of a game. And they tend to be really good about making a new rule book that includes everything and is rewritten. So I think that's the closest we've got.
Very cool. Thank you for the question, Mr. Juggles. I just like to say Mr. Juggles. It makes me feel good. I like that.
I agree with Mr. Juggles.
Adrian Patterson from New Zealand. I love when we have these international days here. At Pattersoa on BGG, I am always staggered and a little envious, or for the huge amount of air travel that you all do. With all of the talk around sustainability at the moment, do you do anything to offset your carbon use? Speaking of travel, in a recent episode, the Podfather suggested that he would choose Middle Earth to live in out of all the game worlds. Yes. Going forward, if you were trekking across Middle Earth with a character, with which character would each of you be in the Fellowship? I assume that Ignacy would be um, uh,
Fatty Bulger.
Fatty Bulger, Frediger
Fredergar.
Bulger, yes, who stayed behind in Cricket Hollow to drink cups of tea and eat biscuits. So Corey, I mean, it's a very interesting question about
Ah,
carbon offsets and stuff like that.
I know.
And I feel, I mean, do I love the fact that airplanes pollute a lot and I take airplanes? I mean, no, but I always said that the plane is going to go whether I get into it or not. It's going, so I get on it to move around, to
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to start with that, to enjoy
The
life.
argument's more the plane probably wouldn't go if nobody decided to go on it.
Well, yeah, but that's not happening in our lifetime. That
I know.
idea that air travel is going to go away because it's not good.
No,
No,
no one snowflake thinks it's the cause of the blizzard.
no, that's true. No, 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 that's true. And I'm not poo-pooing the concept of this at
I'm
all.
just playing devil's
No,
advocate
I
on it.
know. But we do
And
travel
it's,
a lot.
yeah, I worry about it a lot. I drive more often than I fly, and I drive an electric car. And there's arguments about whether that is better offset or worse offset because of production of electric cars, production of energy. Where does your energy come from in the state where you live? I feel a little better about it. So I have driven from California to Gen Con, which is about 2,000 miles. I
Wow.
I drove to Seattle when I went to Seattle and visited. That's about 1,000 miles. I'm going to be driving to Dice Tower West in Vegas, and that's about 800 miles. So I do a lot of driving instead of flying. I think that's a little better. But also I have a lot of other means by which I try to help out and try to offset. Um, so yeah, I think about it a lot.
My next car
As
will be
for
electric. My next car will be electric. That's a guarantee. So that's my next
so who
step.
would you be in the fellowship? Like not which character is you? I'm gonna say I'm Bill the Pony.
You picked.
Unsung hero,
Well, I
help
guess
out,
I
carry
guess
the
he
load.
I guess he did start there.
There you go. And he
Um,
made it. He made it to the end.
he did. He's one of the characters that make it to the end. Oh, I don't know. The entire fellowship, they're all so wonderful, iconic characters.
Are you
Hopefully,
Sharky?
hopefully I'm not. No, he's talking about who are you in the fellowship. But I guess maybe you can extend that because
Sharky,
of
you're Sharky.
Frediger Bolger, Fatty Bolger. I'm not Sharky. I'm not a bad guy.
Sharky.
Uh, who would I like to be in those books? I don't want to be Frodo. Oh, the weight of the ring. I
It's pretty
mean,
brutal.
maybe the mischievous Merry. I'll be merry. And I am merry. I'm happy. Meridoc Brandybuck. I will be him.
Yep.
All right, we'll take one more. We are going a little long here with all that news and all this good stuff. Patrick McElfresh, who I have played the One Ring with. He DM'd a one off for me a couple times.
Well, there you
Um,
go.
he's at hunting_Phoenix on BGG. Hey, Patrick. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the hard work on the show. You guys make your opinion clear that crowdfunders are not pre-orders. That's correct. However, if it looks like a duck, it sounds like a duck, and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. There
Yeah.
are, in my opinion, at least two types of crowdfunders. The quote, this won't exist if we don't fund, and even then we might fail true crowdfunder starter projects, aka eggs. And then there are the quote, we have the book ready to go, exclamation point, projects that are going to happen unless it splats and there's no market. Steven knows I'm an RPG player, I just mentioned, and GM first, hence the book example. These are the chickens that are already grown and ready to cook. Oh, very interesting analogy.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
would offering different sorts of projects be something publishers benefit from? As a consumer, a chicken slash eggometer would be very helpful. So I know if I'm betting on a long shot or not. I mean, Patrick, I think let me take it first, Corey. I think that in my opinion,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of know on many levels now because here it is. I mean, there's at any given moment, how many game crowdfunding campaigns are going on? 100? I don't know. I don't actually don't know the number. I'm just making it 100.
A lot.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot. Well, you look at what projects have these companies done already. It's going to take you a little work. I mean, obviously, you find something. Hey, this looks interesting. You click on the company. First project. I would say that's a high risk project. First project. 57th project, I would say low risk project. That's, I think, the yardstick right there, the chicken and egg yardstick. Corey?
I think it's more complicated than chicken or egg because
Okay.
believe it or not, there's a lot of in-betweens. What I worry about is there's many crowdfunding projects out there that look complete, and they probably are to a certain level complete. But I know for a fact rule sets don't get finalized until very close to the end. So these complete pieces and boards and books aren't really done. And a lot of these projects are making money to cover the previous project. So you get this chaining where I am kickstarting this game in order to fund the previous Kickstarter, which was there to fund the previous
Yeah,
Kickstarter.
that's bad.
And some people are like three deep in that. So that takes away the safety security. So, yes, this company might have 57 projects, but this one might fail because they're 3 to 4 deep. Um, I don't know if there's a benefit of a how much chicken, how much egg there is. It's such a weird platform right now. It does need more transparency as far as how done is it? How risky is it? And there is a little bit at the end of the crowdfunding project that's
Yep.
called risk, which is never true.
It's very generic. It's extraordinary
Yeah,
generic. Even the biggest companies say, "Well, there's a risk in this project because we might not
it's
be able to finish it."
there. It's there because it's
Yeah.
not a pre-order, and they
Yep.
want to make sure that they have a legal to stand on if
Yep.
it fails.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
I
Thank you.
understand the frustration, but it's just the way it is.
Yep. Exactly. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. And remember that these questions are coming from just only a couple of months ago. So if you put questions out there in the playtesting thread, we're going to get to them pretty darn soon.
Yeah,
So
that was
please,
December,
that was a December question. Think about that. And we're now in, what are we in?
February.
February 21st. And for now, let's get over to playtesting.
Woohoo!
So, Corey, as usual, you have
Yes.
asked a question here, and I'll let you read it because it's so good.
So, someone has offered, you've got a magic genie or something. Someone has offered to do one of three things for you from now on. Either one, they set up every game you play. Two, they put away every game you play. Or three, they shuffle every deck you have to deal with.
That's so
Which
great.
one do you pick? I thought this was cute
It's
and
a very
playful.
cute question. So,
And by the way, I did tally the
of course,
results.
that's exactly what I was going to ask you. And Corey, of course, has tallied the results to figure it out. So
Of
we'll give you,
course I
let's
have.
give you the tally first, and then we'll go back and we'll read a couple of things. So, Corey, what's the tally?
So I found it really interesting. What do you think the most popular one was?
Shuffling. Yeah, they want somebody to shuffle the cards.
More than half of the people picked setup.
Really?
Now, there's a number of people who say that they don't mind shuffling or they enjoy shuffling, but what I found fascinating is a huge majority of the people said, "My God, don't touch my game and put it away." There was this amazing just outflow of, I need it away a certain way. I don't want you to mess up my components. I don't want you to put the bags in wrong. I don't want you to mess it up.
I would not have thought that that was going to be the one. That's very cool. All
I
right.
thought it was pretty cool. 54%
Wow. So
said they would pick someone to set it up.
some of the questions, ones that I will read here. Conan Daly, he says, setup, no question. Shuffling cards isn't a big deal, and as Corey says, it can be enjoyable. Pack up also isn't a big deal. It's usually pretty quick, and as everything is going into baggies. So he's got a setup one. Nathan Jenna says, set up the game, especially if it's for the first time. So I picked a couple there that were toward the end that were like setup,
Yeah.
setup, setup.
Board Game
Uh,
Fangirl says, I guess I'm okay with them setting up a game, but it's almost like not any of these options, particularly not putting away a game, because I have so many baggies for every single little thing separately I'm not even sure that people would put it in the correct baggie. But if I had to pick, I would say setting up, because if they did that, we could get it to play more quickly.
there you
And
go.
there were a few there that we could get it to the table quicker, or it would give me time to review the rules. I get it. I get it.
And some people said that their opinion on this has changed over the years. Eric Hooper says that years ago I would have said number three, shuffle the deck every time, but now I find that oddly soothing, just like Corey. I'm going to have to go with number two, put away the game, with the caveat that they put everything exactly where it belongs in the insert and fit everything in the box in a way that the cover closes completely, no lid lift. Some of these newer deluxe games don't fit very easily, so. He's got a
We had a
whole
wonderful discussion of the best baggies for putting away too. I really got into all the responses we had.
that was really good. Really good
Yeah.
stuff, guys.
So
So,
Kevin Martin, just a real quick one. I
yep.
will take a personal put away Butler. Shuffling cards is easy. Everyone is engaged and full of anticipation during setup. However, putting the game away is like cleaning up after the party. It's just a chore. People are remote starting their cars. Bits and pieces are getting hastily thrown together. You have to explain that the covers for Foundation of Rome do not need to be forced down. Trying to figure out the precise repacking of Frosthaven into the box can be as complex as filing taxes. So he took the attitude of, I will pick someone to put it away because they will do it right.
That's excellent. So, Corey, of course, as usual, you've come up with another amazing question for us. What is that
Well, that's what
question?
I do.
You do, you do.
All right. So this one's an interesting one, and I want to see where people go with this. What do you think is the lightest game that you own that you would happily play?
Yeah, and I've been talking about playing lots of light games lately, so my answer is not going to be very shocking at all. It's I think right now it's Flip 7, right? I'm just on the cruise. We played a
Yeah,
8-player game, and remember, for those who have seen my video on the Podfather loves Flip 7, that was the second one in my series that I did. Um, you can play to 18 people out of the box. It's just a deck of cards. And they've come up with a different
yeah.
form factor too to make it even a less expensive and easier, like for
And
retailers and stuff like that.
interestingly, that smaller form factor is the one that they were giving away as a promo to influencers, reviewers, things like that. So I like that form factor better. Now, I know I've committed a cardinal sin of asking questions here. I've given two variables. You have to kind of judge what you think is lightest, and you kind of have to judge what you think is happy to play.
You would happily
So you have to
play.
maximize both of those. And I know that it's a loosey-goosey question.
What is yours?
I think Surface Source Max. It
Oh,
is
really? Okay.
it is not the lightest game, but I think it's the happiest for lightness that I currently have.
All right.
Flip Seven's fine, and I really like Flip Seven, but I've played it a lot lately.
Yeah, I played it a lot, but it's one of those games
So,
that I'm gonna bring with me all the time especially because I love playing large group games. That
and
makes
it
me very
plays
happy.
18 out of the box.
18 is the number, baby. Yeah. So what
I
does
know,
everybody out
crazy.
there think? What do you guys all think? I've just created a thread on Board Game Geek because Corey can't do those things. Uh,
Yeah,
and
no good.
and you can go find that thread, post your answer there, and we might talk about it next week. In the meantime, let's go to the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. And if you want to be part of this podcast, it's simple. We want you to be part of it. Go over to the Guild on Board Game Geek, become a member, ask us questions for strategy and tactics by putting it into that thread. Answer our question to you by putting your answer into the playtesting thread for the segment. And it really is easy. Just go over and do it, guys. Come on, I know you can do it. And we're going to get to your answers, your questions to us very soon, since we're running out. We're coming in on like current time questions. Please interact with us on social media. The handle is the same all over, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, or YouTube. At Board Games Insider, at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, at Play2Z Games, at Above Board TV, at Nerd About Show. Should I say at Gen Con too? So follow
No.
us on your social media of choice, and you can speak directly to us on these platforms because we're the ones that are going to answer you. And of course, the special call out is to the YouTube channel, which is kind of the bread and butter. That's where we do most of the work, and that's Portal Games Studio, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV on YouTube. We would really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. Corey and I will be at Gamma Expo this coming week. As you're listening to this, maybe we're at Gamma Expo with you if you're an industry professional. Otherwise, for all the gamers out there, we'll see you at
Dice
Dice
Tower
Tower West
West. Yeah.
in Las Vegas. Can't wait. Gonna be a blast out there. And then we have, of course, Jake Thompson, who has professionally edited Board Game Insider for us. Thank you, Jake, for being part of the team. And that great voice you hear doing all of the extra little segments, ins and outs, that's Ray Greenlee. And he can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Corey, this brings us to the end of another wonderful podcast. Thank you for being here and being so easy to work with and changing times for me and things
I
like
just
that.
want to point out it's daytime here and dark by you. This
No,
never happens.
it is not quite dark out. It's 5:39 p.m. Eastern time here, and sun is getting ready to set. But yes, and it is the middle of the day. This is not the normal thing that we do. Any,
Normally, I'm doing this at the crack of dawn.
yeah.
So,
Any last words to bring up? Anything else? Or you're good. I think we gave enough great news this week.
Oh, a news-filled show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care, everybody.